All right, welcome everyone who is joining us for Virtual Vino with DMV Distributing. I am Devan, your wine specialist from DMV, in the background here chatting with you. Up on screen, we do have our local retailers that have all four of these amazing Line and Dove wines that we'll be featuring this evening. We are going to taste the Sauvignon Blanc, the Pinot Noir, the Carmenere, and the Moscato. So thanks for joining. Please share this video with your friends, family, anyone who is stuck inside tonight during the crazy storms that are sweeping through DC and Maryland. Always a good chance to chat about delicious wines, learn about them, and well, especially drink them. It is 5 p.m., so it is happy hour time after all. So I do have a really special guest joining us this evening from Baltimore. They have an amazing store, Accents Liquors. We're going to be bringing Lara on in just a second with me. And like we've mentioned before, for those of you that do join us tonight, remember, click, share, love the video, share with your friends, and feel free to comment and let us know where you're joining from, where you're watching from. And let us know also if you're drinking these wines along with us. The best part about these tastings is that even though we're stuck inside, you're not drinking alone. So we do have Lara Franks, the owner of Accents Liquor, joining us. Hi, Lara, and thank you so much for joining us here with me tonight. Yeah, and I can't wait to visit your store sometime. I'm so glad that we could arrange such a fun tasting, and it really seems like a very appropriate time to do this tasting, especially with your great store. I know that you're going to be speaking a little bit about the more specifics of your store, but you're in fact a kosher specialty store in Baltimore, Maryland. So of course, with all of the holidays coming up, that's a really great point to make to everyone, to share with your friends and family that might be looking for amazing, high quality kosher products. So once again, thank you. And if you want to share a bit about yourself, especially how you guys have been doing before we get started on our tasting. Obviously, guys, we're going to be starting with the Line and Dove Sauvignon Blanc. So while Laura's giving us an intro here, if you want to pour yourself a glass, feel free, ask any questions, leave comments. Cheers.
Thank you. Thanks, Devan. It was great to be with everybody tonight. Our store is actually relatively new. It is only 4 months old, and it's an interesting story how it came about. We have 4 kosher restaurants in our strip mall, and so we've had a liquor license for a few years, and obviously serving wonderful array of alcohol and wines in our restaurants, but we're never allowed to actually sell out the door, as you see behind me, because there was in fact a liquor store on the property. But about September or October last year, the owner came to let us know that he would be leaving at the end of March this year, not renewing his lease. So in January, we started petitioning the landlords to allow us to open as he closed. And so he closed March 31st, and within a few days, we popped up our very own liquor store. What was really kind of serendipitous, or I like to think really the hand of God in all of this, is that COVID was really rolling out around the same time, into March and early April, and our restaurant business obviously started tanking, as most restaurants around the country have been experiencing similarly. But popping up the liquor store enabled us at that time to introduce another inventory line that was growing during COVID, because let's face it, we've all been drinking our way through the last 6 months. And so in a way, it saved my company and allowed us to still be here, and for 3 out of 4 of my restaurants to still be open and operating. So that's how the liquor store came into being. But we're having just a wonderful time with it. We're really loving being able to bring in what people in our local community are wanting to drink or wanting to experience. And it's a great feeling to be able to be there for people and find an additional way to take care of your customers and to service your neighborhood. So we have appreciated being able to do this in more ways than one during this time. So, and of course, having great vendors like yourselves who are willing to take the extra step to give our customers awesome experiences with a product just is a cherry on the top. Now, as you can hear, I am speaking with a strange accent. So for those people who are wondering, who do not know me, I hail from South Africa. And as you probably know, Devan, in the Cape in South Africa, there's an incredible, vibrant, and very universally and internationally known wine region. So in my college years, myself and my friends were frequent flyers on those little trips into the wine countries. I could say my formative growing up years were spent drinking a substantial amount of wine.
Now, Lara, do you still have many contacts in South Africa?
I have a few. We did. My husband and I both have friends and family who still live there.
Gotcha.
So we do occasionally visit.
Great. You still visit, go to, wine tastings, kind of explore about them.
Yeah, so definitely if we go out to the Cape, then the wine route is most definitely one of the trips that we make again. It's beautiful, and those wines, a lot of them are really, really world renowned wines. And interesting, there are now there are now some vineyards and brands that are women owned and women driven, which as a woman business owner and someone who drives a food brand, I very much appreciate and find, extremely exciting and interesting.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And here at DMV, we love to, support them as well. We had a guest, Bryce, who works for Marquee Selections with us a couple of weeks ago, and we were actually reviewing a few wines from South Africa that we carry within DMV distributing. We were also talking about their controversial alcohol ban that's, kind of been off and on all year, which is, I'm sure probably kept up, but it was very interesting. I'm glad, and I hope it's much better there for them since they re-lifted it. But wild time.
I can't imagine how people could get through this pandemic without being able to drink alcohol. And I think the ban may have been on tobacco as well. And I cannot imagine who came up with that decision and on what basis they made that decision. I find it an interesting decision. Don't think it would work in America.
Exactly. Yeah, we talked in quite some depth, and the whole time just thinking of even the people that were starting the black market for it and everything. It was wild.
Yeah,
but
yeah. It just leads to probably nowhere really good.
So thank God, all of our, wine families down in South Africa, we're glad to still be able to support you all, and definitely glad that they can sell again. Well, Lara, we're going to kick off the tasting with the Lion and Dove Sauvignon Blanc.
Great.
Go ahead and pour it. Absolutely love our whole Lion and Dove line. For those of you that have never heard of Lion and Dove, it is a locally owned wine brand based out of Frederick, Maryland. If you see the logo behind me in a few places here, it's actually designed by a local tattoo artist in Frederick, Maryland as well. So we kind of kept it in the family, kept it fun. The greatest thing about all of these wines, we have 7 varietals at the moment, 6 that are on sale from our distributor to stores really at the moment. All of them from Chile, except for the Moscato that we'll be featuring last in this evening's tasting is from Italy. But they are all vegan, gluten-free, and kosher for Passover. So that is why Lara obviously carries them in her store, because these wines, whether you are looking for a kosher product or not, these wines are great for everyone. You don't have to be vegan to enjoy them. You don't have to be searching for that wonderful kosher product to enjoy them. The entire line, great for everyone. So Lara, this Sauvignon Blanc, one of my favorite Sauvignon Blancs, like I mentioned, it is produced in Chile. Your Sauvignon Blanc, obviously more of a lighter white wine.
Yeah.
This one has a very fruity and herbal undertones to it. And what I love about Lion and Dove wines, and we'll be talking a little bit about food pairings later with Lara as well. After each wine, we'll kind of go over even what she has in her various restaurants there as well that would pair great with these. But they're so well balanced that you can pair them so easily with food.
Yeah, you can really get the fruitiness just really comes out of that glass. It's awesome. Has a nice light fruity flavor. we may have frozen a little. We're having a really, really bad storm coming through here. It's pretty grey and stormy out there. So, in fact, we had power outs on and off for the last half hour too.
Yeah, so sorry we are kicked off, everyone. I couldn't tell. For those of you that live in or around Maryland or DC, we are getting hit with some serious storms and or tornadoes. So if we disappear, we'll be right back with you. So I'm not sure what all you guys missed. We'll see. But from the Central Valley in Chile, that is one of their most productive wine regions in Chile. They have really great microclimates, a very terrain, amazing soil types. So this Sauvignon Blanc really has it all. It's an award-winning Sauvignon Blanc. It was won the silver medal from the World Value Wine Challenge in 2019 and was deemed highly recommended. So Laura, I'm sure as you taste this, you'll probably agree also.
Yeah, the minute I put my nose in there, I could smell the fruitiness. That's really great because you expected them to just hit your palate with that sweetness, but it really doesn't. It's awesome in that way.
Exactly.
You had mentioned a couple of things which some of the people watching might find interesting. You mentioned gluten-free and you mentioned vegan. Now, I happen to be gluten-free. I'm gluten intolerant, and for a while I was vegan too, which kind of is weird because I own a steakhouse. But anyway, could you tell people watching why the vegan thing? Why do we even say that? What makes some wines vegan or not vegan? Because for me, that's like an interesting point.
Sure. So for order for a wine or a product to be designated certified vegan, obviously it cannot contain meat, fish, fowl, animal byproducts, eggs, egg products, milk products, honey, any honeybee products, insects, etc. So the reason that not all wine products are vegan is because of how they're clarified during the fining process. So basically how the wine is filtered, where you're getting all of the stems out, the bugs. I mean, if you've ever worked at a winery, there's everything left, once you do your filtration process. Vegan wineries use more of a natural filtration process instead of using anything that has to deal with animals, basically. So your vegan friendly fining agents, usually it's even a concrete vat, or sometimes it's just called sweet thyme. So, the wine is naturally going to separate itself from all of that mess that's, within the wines as well. I think one thing that I absolutely love about Line and Dove and being vegan is that they really take their time in finding these wines throughout that vegan process, that if you look straight through the bottles, there's nothing floating in your wine. I've checked out every bottle of Line and Dove. It is so crisp and clear when you look through these wines. The reds, the rosé, the Moscato later, we'll see. And that's what makes it vegan. So yeah, we can definitely post a link for those of you that are more interested in knowing the difference. But I've definitely had quite a few people that have been, even, back in the day during public tastings, that asked that same question. And you don't have to be vegan, obviously, to enjoy it. You can still pair these vegan wines with, a hearty steak dinner. But it is vegan for those that are looking for that sort of product.
In fact, we have a sushi bar that's right behind this monitor is my sushi chef. She actually just made me a roll, and this wine would really, really well work amazingly even with fish dishes.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think this wine is absolutely amazing. It has less of a grapefruit taste, so it's not made in, usually your highly rated Sauvignon Blancs at the moment are all from New Zealand, and they'll just hit you in the face with the gooseberry aroma and the very fruit-forward grapefruit taste. This wine is a little bit more mellow, a little bit more balanced, so it has more of a a melon taste to it, which would be excellent for a seafood dish, a sushi dish.
I could totally pair that with sushi and see that going down really well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, I'm sure you have a lot of, what'd you say?
And like sort of lemony chickens, in our own restaurants. I have to give my food 2 cents worth, but this might be nice also with herb roasted turkeys. I mean, I see this going great with turkey dishes also.
Exactly. And I
Yeah,
know for people that like spicy foods as well, I don't know if you serve many spicy dishes, but it definitely goes hand in hand with your spicier dishes as well. It'll just definitely balance out those spicy dishes, even if you like, your Mexican dishes, Greek, obviously anything with a cream sauce also is going to go really well with the Sauvignon Blanc. And this one, especially like I mentioned, it doesn't intrude as much on the flavor of your food.
Yeah, no, this is great. We have a lot of curry flavors running through our steakhouse dishes because it's called Serengeti, the steakhouse, and it's obviously African inspired from my roots. And there you go. This picture of the interior. And so we have a lot of seasonings, but one of them is curry. So this also would be a nice offset to those curry flavors and those curry profiles in that food.
I completely agree. Now, I know you mentioned earlier about a bit of your restaurants. You mentioned that only 3 are open out of you have 4 restaurants then?
Yeah. I have an Italian restaurant as well. That was doing handmade pastas and pizzas and fish dishes. But it's kind of a smaller, narrower space. So to do 50% capacity tables 6 feet apart meant we were not going to get very many people seated in there. And I was nervous that we just also would not be able to drive enough carry-out business to really substantiate paying the rent, utilities, insurance, license and permits, and then having at least a 5-man team, because you have to have a core team in there every day in order to make that work. So at this point, it's still closed, and we're really hoping that as kids go back to school and as things start to somewhat normalize, and once there's a vaccine, that we will hopefully be able to open that back up. But what we're doing is we're serving some of those dishes as specials in one of my other restaurants. So we're kind of overlaying that menu and selling those products through our brick oven pizza store that is open, and still giving clients access to some of their favorite dishes from that restaurant. And that's our stopgap for right now.
I love that. Now, Lara, the next wine that we're going to drink is the Line and Dove Pinot Noir. Speaking of pizza and pasta, the Line and Dove Pinot Noir is an excellent complement to pizza, especially. I call this like the Pinot Noir pizza wine. For those of you that have these wines with us, let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Ask Lara any questions, ask me any questions that might pop in your head. Like we mentioned, we're here to have fun with you guys, chat about Line and Dove. And, it's a very interesting time, first of all, to have obviously restaurants. And we're so glad that it all worked out for you, Lara, to be able to open your liquor store as well to help, keep your restaurants alive too. Because I know I'm located here in Western Maryland, and it breaks my heart. I've had quite a few, of my restaurants that I've, brought wine to that unfortunately have closed. And
I think my husband was reading a couple of days ago, I think it was the Washington Post, one of those major newspapers online, that over 100,000 restaurants have already been lost in this country that will not be reopening. And it's just crazy. Obviously it's the smaller single operators like ourselves, mom and pop operations, not your national or international brands that are getting really hammered. And we're the ones that are mostly servicing. We're in our communities, we're in our neighborhoods, we're servicing our neighborhoods. So there's a lot of, besides losing access to the foods, losing all those employees back into the communities, there's also a loss of those relationships in the neighborhoods, which are important to a lot of people. It's interesting, when I opened my one restaurant, there was a couple of clients that just weren't coming in. They were going to the other one. And I said to them one day, I haven't seen you, Mrs. So-and-so, in my Italian restaurant. You always seem to be going to the brick oven pizza place. And why don't you come into the Italian place and try it? And she sat me down and she said, I'm an older woman and I never known. And
I think we lost Lara here for a second. Give us a second, guys, while we regroup. That looks like, Joseph, you may have gotten the Chardonnay instead. Definitely hit up Accent Liquors once again if that's where you got your tasting kit. we were asking earlier, and I think that they thought perhaps we were featuring the Chardonnay. But the Chardonnay is equally as amazing as the Sauvignon Blanc. And it pairs with most of the same things, Joseph. So, yeah, even if you're not usually a Chardonnay person, I love the Line and Dove Chardonnay. It's very, very lightly oaked. So you're still going to be able to pair it with just about the same items that we spoke with Lara about, along with the Sauvignon Blanc. So sorry about that, but definitely enjoy your Chardonnay. Let us, and you already said, oh, it's delicious. That's good, Joseph. I love the Chardonnay as well. So between that and the Sauvignon Blanc, two really great varietals from Line and Dove. Joseph, have you ever tried Line and Dove before? To get my Pinot Noir set up. We're just waiting for Lara to get back in here with us. Like I mentioned, the storms and tornadoes are rolling in, so I think that they're going to hit Baltimore a little bit before they hit me here in Western Maryland. So you're at least stuck for me in the meantime. I know that we have a few questions about kosher wines as well, so I can speak about that also while we're waiting for Lara to rejoin us here. So the kosher wines, obviously, and we spoke with Lara yesterday about the video and what we wanted to talk about with kosher wines, because a lot of the times when you bring up a kosher wine, you think that, oh, the Manischewitz that your grandmas used to drink, and perhaps not that high quality, delicious wines. There's so many kosher wines that are available nowadays, including the entire Line and Dove brand, that aren't going to make you sad that you are, you know, even if you are followed, you know, that kosher diet, those restrictions for yourselves, kosher wines can be delicious. So that's what we're showing you all this evening. There's Lara. Hi, Lara.
Sorry, we keep going out from the storm. It's horrid.
You're okay. I explained to everyone. They're all right. But yeah, I mean, so now when you have kosher wines, they're automatically going to be gluten-free as well. It also deals with the processing of the wine, same with your vegan wines also. But the processing of the wines being designated kosher, a rabbi supervising and observing the entire process there, and kept free from certain contacts. So contact with grain, bread, and dough. AKA, that's why all the kosher for Passover wines are also gluten-free. So if you do follow a gluten-free diet, the kosher wines are also something great for you. And they're usually always labeled on the back. So you'll see the vegan, the kosher, and the gluten-free designations all on the back of all the Line and Dove as well. So even if you have a store, perhaps that doesn't carry Line and Dove yet, obviously you can always refer them to DMV. We'll hook them up with the Line and Doves. But definitely pay attention to your back labels also. That'll help you out. So Lara, I was just giving them a little bit of a background about kosher wines.
Yeah.
You know, your input is always welcome. I know that obviously, you know, we have a few observant Jewish holidays coming up. So it's a really great thing to talk about. I hear that you all are doing some kit specials with Line and Dove there as well, leading up to those holidays to you know, support those that are celebrating.
Yeah, we have some great packages. We know this is a time where there's like 4 to 5 straight weeks of recurring Jewish holidays. People do make blessings on the wine at their holiday meals. And then, of course, people are sitting around with, well, this year, not so much with friends, but with family, and enjoying a lot of time at the table. And it's a great time for people to stock up and take advantage of specials that are going to be running. We have an app called Accents Liquor, which can be downloaded through the App Store. We have really deep dive, incredible sales and coupons going on literally every week, and people are most definitely using those in addition to the packages to stock up for the holidays. So I definitely encourage people, if they're local, to take advantage of downloading that app.
Yeah, that's awesome, Lara. And we'll make sure that we tag you all in a post as well with these specials on DMV. Also, guys, feel free, go download the app. It's available. There's the link in our comment section there. It's available on both your Apple and Android phones. And even just eyeing up your specials there, the prices are amazing, Lara. So I would definitely, people have to, you know, I really hope that they come and support your business. And you guys are definitely
support local on every level, right?
Exactly, yes. And I think that that's a really great thing, especially about our virtual vinos here, is that, you know, we can't do our public tastings anymore. You can't taste these products as much, but we are working with our local stores, for example, Accents Liquor, to do fun things like this for you guys. So for those of you that are out there trying these products, or even if you're interested, you know, follow Accents Liquor on their Facebook at Accents Liquor. Your Instagram as well is super great. So definitely go visit their restaurants. Do you do carry out in your restaurants as well?
Yeah, sure. Behind me, there's there's a lot of activity, and a lot of it is people coming in to pick out carry out orders. So they pick them up in the liquor store. That's where my cashiers are based. So, you know, carry out and delivery services kind of where it's at these days for food companies. There really is not a lot of other ways to stay in business right now. In many states and cities, they're still not seating guests. I don't know if I'm imagining it, but I want to say that I heard that New York might be extending well into the rest of the year, no indoor dining.
Wow.
I understand why those policies need to be in place. It's just extraordinarily hard in some locations for restaurants to then offer an alternative way to stay in business.
Yeah. And, you know, and I've seen a lot of clever thing and people that have really persevered through all of this, you guys being one example of that. So props to anyone that's in the industry, you know, that is really fighting to keep their businesses alive. And also, you know, thanks everyone that is going out and supporting your local businesses.
Yeah, that's key right now.
I try to, for sure.
Yeah. No, that's, you know, that's just really the key as to how motivated people are to keep their local community businesses in business. And that's what's going to make or break it right now. You know, PPP funding was great, but it only lasts for a short while and then it's gone, and then you have to stand on your own 2 feet. So while it was really wonderful for the 2 or 3 months that it helped innumerable small businesses, it's certainly not some kind of a program that would last all the way through getting a vaccine and getting people vaccinated. So it's going to take a meaningful effort by communities to rally around each other to get everybody through this.
Exactly. All right. Now, Lara, before we post the Pinot Noir, there is a question in our comments here. Can they get them shipped to family members' house? So I'm assuming the wines, can you ship wine?
So we I don't know what the laws are with regards to out of state. I know you cannot ship alcohol into the state of Maryland, so I'm guessing that you can therefore not ship alcohol outside the state of Maryland. But for people who live inside Maryland, yes, we absolutely can ship. And if you are within the delivery region that we are willing to drive to, we can also deliver. We do a huge amount of liquor deliveries. And we will go as far as about 45 minutes to an hour out. So that is definitely a thing.
Wonderful. All right. There's your answer, Austin. So if you have family members in and around Baltimore, let them know.
Contact them. Sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. All right. So we are going to move on to our second wine of the evening, the Pinot Noir. So we have 2 fantastic, really high quality reds to show off this evening for you before we get to our dessert wine. So Lara, I don't know if you're a dry red wine lover or not. I myself definitely am. Anything dry and fruity, I'm there. You know, I think one of the coolest things about a Pinot Noir grape, obviously it's one of the main red grapes that you think of when you're speaking about dry red wines. But in fact, Pinot Noir is also one of the oldest grapes in the world. You know, it was around since Roman times. It's really revered because it's also one of the hardest grapes to grow in the world. So to make plentiful, really high quality, delicious Pinot Noir, it also is a painstaking process for most wine growers. That's why it's usually a little bit more expensive in store. But our average price on all of our line in Dove is approximately $11.99 to $12.99 in store. Exactly. So they're really great prices. You're not breaking your wallet even having this amazing Pinot Noir that we're going to drink right now. But like I said, very hard grape to grow. It's kind of just like, you know, a very needy person, how you just have to really try and keep them happy. That's basically what the Pinot Noir is. But
Well, I can tell you it's worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, and still it's a, it's a full bodied wine. It's about 13% alcohol content to this wine, produced in Chile, same as the Line and Dove Sauvignon Blanc was. And I think, Lara, as you're tasting it, let me know what you think taste wise. But especially when I take this Pinot Noir out, this is a really good stepping stone for those of you that have sweet wine lover friends that don't necessarily like their the red wines, and you have them over for dinner. This is a really great stepping stone because it is very fruit forward. It's very subtle and easy to drink. And we'll hear a little bit from, what Laura's tasting in it as well, and what you think of it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's funny. When I was younger, I only drank white. And as I've grown older, because I'm kind of old right now, I've sort of morphed into the reds. And the older I get, the drier my taste buds go, which is interesting. I don't know what's happening. But this is a great mixture. And you're right. Oftentimes we forget that our palate is not everybody's palate. And when what you like and what you collect, especially for connoisseurs, may not appeal to everybody if you're hosting company or like in my restaurants where you have a diverse client base. And so a wine like this that really meets both objectives of being just easier on the palate, even though it's a dry red, is definitely a winning ticket. I agree with you.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, it has a really nice light ruby color to it. The aromas are very fruit forward, but there's also a light spiciness to it.
Yeah. It is. It's a much more playful red, definitely. Definitely for people who would like to also explore getting more into reds. I know a lot of people who only drink whites, but if you introduce them to something like this, you can definitely shift their palates slowly towards being able to enjoy both.
Exactly. Austin asked, how are the tannins in this wine? The tannins in the Pinot Noir are very well balanced, not too heavy. The wine itself is not a very acidic red. Like I mentioned earlier, between the acidity and the tannins of all of the Line and Dove wines, they basically even themselves out. So you don't get an overly acidic wine or an overly tannin wine. Like, it's not bitter. It's just very fruit forward. You're going to taste a lot of raspberry and cherry within this Pinot Noir. And then at the end, there is a little bit of a light pepper taste to it. So I think, like we were talking about the food pairings earlier, it's definitely going to be one of those wines that is very shareable, but is also going to pair with a lot of things. So I don't know.
My chef just bought one of these signature steaks, and this would be a great compliment. I think this is a spicy honey chipotle steak, but I think meat dishes would go really well with this.
That looks delicious.
Especially with the spiciness of the chipotle offset by this lighter, fruitier red would be really awesome. Now the chef's having fun with these wines.
Yeah, exactly. And that dish would go really well with our next wine also, but especially the Pinot Noir. And like we spoke about earlier, for those of you pizza lovers, and I'm sure everyone's perhaps on sort of a budget at the moment with, quarantine. And of course, you've probably been eating more, but pizza and wine, always a great combination. I know, you make pizza there as well. So this Pinot Noir especially, no matter what you really get on your pizza, this would be fantastic.
Oh yeah, the brick oven pizzas with lots of different veggies, and then you got the fresh herbs paired with these, this like berry taste. Great too. And I think a lot of people just automatically have thought through maybe poor education, that red wine is just automatically something you should be eating. You should be drinking with your meats and your chickens and your heavier dishes. But that, as you say, is really not so. Especially for people who default to reds, you really can learn that there are a variety of reds that pair just as well with pizza, with cheeses, with fishes, with dishes that ordinarily, I know when I was growing up, it was just a thing. Like, you would drink white with your fishes and your dairy, and you would drink reds with everything else, but that really is not so.
Exactly. And it does depend on the wine. It depends on the balance of the wine. Austin has a question here. Can we slightly chill the Pinot Noir? Absolutely. Especially those of us here in America, we tend to drink our wines at room temperature, 70 degrees Fahrenheit. But typically your reds, you can drink at the mid 50s. So if you have, even a wine fridge, or you want to put it in your refrigerator for about 30 minutes before you open it, that is absolutely fine, especially in the hot summertime evenings. Even if you don't want to pair it with food, this is also a wine that you don't have to pair with, you don't have to pair with food. You can chill it, enjoy it on your porch. Same with the Sauvignon Blanc earlier. But of course, if you have the right wine and you pair it with food, that's also going to make both taste even more amazing.
Devan, talking about chilling and storing, can you just tell the viewers how a lot of times people have, especially with reds, leftover bottles, half bottles. Kind of what is the default rule? Is there a default rule in how to store that and still continue to enjoy it without it spoiling? Is there a golden rule, or is it really wine by wine?
Sure, yeah. I'll start off by saying, and I tell my stores or people that stock up and buy a lot of reds, especially your corked wines. Once you get them home, I would always store them sideways, first of all, so you keep your cork dry. That also helps your cork from basically breaking down in a way, and your oxygen is going to go in and oxidize your wine and basically ruin your wine over time. So you always want to store it as is before you open it. Obviously, once you open it, no matter if it's a white or red, I would recommend putting it in your refrigerator. It slows down the aging process of the wine. So no matter if you work in a restaurant, if you sell wines in your restaurant, it's always a great idea to refrigerate your wines at night. Take them out about at least an hour beforehand before you're going to serve them to guests that evening. They'll be a little bit chilled, obviously, but you're looking for that mid 50. But that's going to keep your reds aged, or it's going to keep them fresh for longer. So typically your whites and your sweet wines, you always want to drink your sweet wines first. They're the first to typically turn a little bit. They'll oxidize a little bit faster than your dry reds. So for instance, the Sauvignon Blanc that we tasted first, if you all open that with us tonight, that's going to be good for about 2-3 days. And then you should have the bottle finished afterwards. And of course, if I can't find people, I've been doing the live tasting since the end of March. And of course, I don't want to be drinking 10 bottles of wine a week. So if I can't pass them off to my friends, neighbors, my stores, etc., you can also always cook with your older wine. Not, if you're getting that vinegary scent to it, obviously don't drink it. It's not going to make you sick, but it's not going to taste as good. So why not amplify your meal with it? Marinate your chicken breast, even your steaks and your red wine, etc. So you can always reuse your wine. I don't know if you've done that with, items on your menu, but it's always like a great idea to kind of amplify and not necessarily waste your wine.
Oh yeah, we're putting alcohol into quite a few things. We have a bourbon barbecue steak sauce. We have beer battered chicken tenders. Where the chef uses red wine quite often, deglazing with it, putting it into stews and lamb, braising with lamb dishes. So this is not going to be a problem for us. Let's just put it that way. We're going to be fine.
Exactly.
Open bottles.
Yeah. So definitely for a dry white wine like the Sauvignon Blanc, 2 to 3 days, have it drank or reuse it. Obviously, to marinate your chicken, especially, is one of my favorites to marinate with my dry whites. The Moscato that we're tasting last this evening, fresh in the way it should taste, is 1 to 2 days. Especially your sweet wines. We'll talk more about the sweet wine, the Moscato, later. Some of your sweet wines that are close to the 20%, they can last a little bit longer and sometimes about a week or so, but it all depends on the alcohol content with those sweet wines. Now, the 2 reds that we're drinking tonight, those are about 4 to 5 days that they're going to stay fresh. And like I mentioned, putting them in the fridge, that's just going to slow the aging process. So for those of you that do have a dinner party and you have these leftover open bottles of wine for some reason, you guys couldn't finish them, put them them in your fridge. It's not going to hurt your wine. It's just going to slow it down. And once you slowly let it sit out in the room, it'll be right back to normal. But I would definitely not recommend drinking wine that's been open past about 5 or 6 days. It's just going to taste bad, and then you'll think, oh, I don't like that wine. But really, it's not the wine's fault. It's yours for not drinking it fast enough.
I know a lot of people are instant potting these days and slow cooking and using up drips and drabs of wine. If you're cooking with that style, is really awesome. Just gives a great depth of flavor to the food.
Exactly. Yeah. So even if you all ever have questions like, oh man, I participated in a virtual vino and I have this wine from a couple weeks ago, like, it's okay. Write us. We can help you out. Maybe even, tell you what to marinate it with, etc. But like I mentioned, the old wine's not going to hurt you. It's not going to make you sick. It's just going to taste bad. So that's
they can always send a message to us if they need something fun to do with leftover alcohol. I'm sure Chef will be happy to give some tips.
Wonderful. Good. Now, Janet asked, what about using a vacuum? It depends on what brand. I used to work at a local winery, and we tried quite a few to elongate the life of our open bottles. But still, even with the vacuum bins, I never saw a wine last at its prime once you open the bottle longer than a week. And the week being that like 7 days, even with the vacuum. But it all depends on your taste. If you can kind of go with a little bit of not that as fresh taste, that's up to you. But yeah, even with the products like that. Now your Corvins, I don't know if Acuven is maybe some different of that. The Corvins, then of course you're not really puncturing your cork. It's not as oxidized. It'll just refill the bottle, etc. The Corvins are a great product. Expensive but great, and I would use those, of course, with your more expensive bottles that you don't necessarily want to open.
Right.
All right, so we are going to move on to our third our third wine of the evening, the Carmenere. So this is one of my favorite wines to share in public tastings, especially.
I've been waiting for that one.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorites. And this wine also, I just want to give a shout out. A couple of the Line and Dove wines also have been rated by Dave McIntyre in the Washington Post previously. The Carmenere also received a very good to excellent rating with Dave McIntyre in the Washington Post. And our Colossal White Reserve was actually in the Washington Post this week. So those of you that get the Washington Post, Lima Colossal Reserve, they have a red, they have a white. The white this week, just yesterday, was featured in print as a 2 stars. So it's 2 out of 3 stars, excellent. So thanks Dave McIntyre, thanks Washington Post for supporting DMV. If you have not tried the Colossal White, do yourself a favor, go out and get a bottle. It is absolutely amazing. If you're a Chardonnay fan, even if you're a Moscato fan or a Sauvignon Blanc fan, I highly recommend that wine. I featured it before, and it's definitely one of my favorite new whites out this year.
So we were talking about what to do with your leftover wine, and
yeah,
we have a quick sneak guest. This is our head chef, Tony.
Hello.
And
Hi,
he
Tony.
he brought me, case in point, we were just discussing the stew, and he said he uses our leftover reds for his stews. You want to tell us, quick, Chef Tony, what you did with that dish?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Trust me.
Oh, I didn't hear all of what Tony said. What is it?
Beef and
Oh yeah, you'll definitely have to share that on your page, Lara. And Tony,
that definitely do that, because as I was saying to you before, your braising and your slow cooking and your stews, they're just like the perfect way to get rid of drips and drabs of red that you're not going to get through, and you're sitting with these bottles, especially now because we're not entertaining like we were before COVID. It's small couples or singles or small family units at home. So to go through a bottle in the time frame you were talking about, Devan, sometimes could be challenging, especially now. Or maybe not, maybe because people are drinking a lot, right? But okay, for people who are not drinking like me, it might be challenging.
Yeah. Exactly. And you're me, and I have a tasting similar to this every week, etc. You have those leftover bottles, so it's really great to be able to have tips like that, Tony, and especially
Exactly.
make
Yeah,
delicious.
we'll put it up for sure, and we'll put up a recipe for people, and they can definitely send questions through for Chef Tony. He's incredibly, extraordinarily creative. This puts out beautiful things for us and our guests nightly, and we're lucky to have him on our team.
Wonderful. Tony, I can't wait to visit and eat some of your food sometime soon.
Can't wait to meet
Awesome. Well, thank you. Yeah, now, and this Carmenere that we're about to talk about, guys, this would definitely also pair really well with a meal like that. And if you forget to drink the rest of it, it's also a great wine to reuse for something like that. Obviously, you never want to abuse your wine and dump it down the sink. That's one of the saddest things I've ever seen in my life. I feel like I've maybe had to do it twice, and it's like a bad pet scene in a movie or something,
Yeah.
So I don't want to do that, guys.
When we closed the restaurants as COVID hit, for a week or so, we just shut everything because no one really knew what we were dealing with here. Mm-hmm. And then the one restaurant, Sephora, never opened again. And then a couple of months later, I went in there was all this open wine, and it all had to go down the sink. And it was like, no.
Oh, no.
Right.
That's the saddest thing I've heard.
I know. What are you going to do?
And especially after a few weeks. I mean, if you go too long, you might not even want to cook with it anymore. But exactly. So always good ways to reuse your wine. So the third wine that we're going to be speaking about this evening, the Lion and Dove Carmenere, like I mentioned, one of my favorites to show off with. Not only is this wine a really delicate, silky, dry red wine, but it also comes with one of the most intriguing stories in wine history. So the Carmenere grape, and there's a lot of people that are very unfamiliar with the Carmenere, but it was actually originally grown in Bordeaux, France, and it was one of the main 6 grapes that they grew there until it was knocked out by phylloxera in 1867. So this wine was thought to be extinct for over 130 years. It just upped and poofed, vanished. It's definitely similar to the Pinot Noir, like we spoke about earlier. That grape is very hard to grow. The Carmenere grape is susceptible to disease, etc. And the phlox just wiped it all out. It wiped a lot of grapes out, but all of the Carmenere, or so they thought. So after a century, it was actually found in Chile, of all places. It was actually taken down there by Spanish conquistadors, which, we're going to pillage in Chile. Let's take some wine with us. So they uprooted Merlot from France that was left. Well, We're
freezing again. It's really coming down out there, folks. It's pretty grey and miserable. We've got sheets of water, so we'll have to just hang in there with Devan a few more minutes. This is definitely more my thing, nice and dry.
Yeah. So as I was saying, the storms are interrupting my story. Sorry.
Yeah, that's crazy out there. Crazy.
Yeah. I don't hear it much here yet, but I think something's happening.
Oh, it's coming your way.
Sure. But it was discovered that 50% of what they thought was Merlot in Chile was actually the once extinct Carmenere from Bordeaux. So they really, Chile obviously is a main place that they do grow this amazing grape now. This grape in general, it's very silky. It has usually a dark ruby color to it. And usually it's very fruit forward smelling. So for this, especially if you like jams, this smells a lot, especially on your first hint of strawberry preserves and cherry. So especially if you're a strawberry or cherry fan, even just the scent of this wine, the aroma of it is fantastic. And they do grow this wine. They do grow the grape now in several different places. Not as much in France, but it is back in France at this point. There's kind of a renewed interest. that they are trying to regrow it a lot more in Bordeaux. But it's grown in Italy, New Zealand, Australia, and even here in the States in Washington State and California. So if you do see the Carmenere, definitely give yourself, that option to try out, a new grape that you don't necessarily hear about. But I think it's definitely going to become more popular as it, it was only refound in 1994. So in wine time, that's not much. Your vines take quite a long while to grow to be able to yield a lot of wine and fruit.
Yeah,
so what do you think about this one, Lara?
I really like it. I'm thinking, dark chocolate and this is also coffee rub steak and this. Yeah, it's got me thinking. I really like it. It's dry, but as you say, that little tart cherryness is coming through, and it's terrific. I'm a big fan. Definitely, and definitely the price is right too. That's one thing I love about the brand is that it's a great affordable brand, and you don't have to feel like you every time you want to have a nice evening and a glass of wine. You're second guessing, should I open it, shouldn't I open it? This kind of a well priced solid brand just makes it a no brainer.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, when you get into your wines that are $20, $30 a bottle, you're like, oh, is this meal worth, opening my good bottle of wine for? But these wines, like Laura mentioned, the average price is so low.
Yeah.
You're not going to feel bad about opening your, $12 bottle of Lion and Dove Carmenere when it in fact tastes 3 times the price.
Yeah, it really does. It doesn't. The price and the taste, it's a real motivator. Having it on your shelf and just having it be your go-to, definitely a motivator.
Exactly. And I love the labels as well. They're very easy to spot in your store. You have them all lined up. So it just kind of makes that nice, colorful accent wall in a way of sorts. So very easy to spot. I feel like they're right behind you on your wine wall, like a shelf downer. So they're nice and easy to spot. There you go. There they are. Yep.
One of the most unique ones.
Yep. And Laura has our posts on them as well. So for those of you that are new to Virtual Vino, we post these on all of our wines that we've selected to showcase on our live streams. So even the description of our Virtual Vinos are on the back. So Laura, as you can tell, she has those on her Lion and Doves in her store as well. So if you see those on any wines, even not just Lion and Dove in your store, grab the bottle. We've either done that in a show before. We've had guests from liquor stores, restaurants, winery owners, winemakers. So you can really become more knowledgeable, one, about the wines, but also be familiar with those that you're actually supporting. And a lot of them are, small, local, great wineries from all around the world. So just be on the lookout for the tags. I love that you have them up. So thanks, Lara.
Yeah, we have a lot of people walking in, and they stand and they look at these big shelves of wine and they're like, oh, and they're overwhelmed because they just really don't know where to start. So having things like that on the shelves is really helpful, being able to gently introduce people and make them feel like they are an informed buyer and they're not stupid, and it's a terrific marketing capability. So.
Yeah. And if you all are, unfamiliar with DMV or Lion and Dove, you can always message us on social media, like us at DMV Dist. We're always writing you guys back, replying, letting you know, even more local to you, if you are in other areas of Maryland. Obviously, Laura said, though, they can deliver those. So definitely reach out to Accents Liquor. Obviously, they have the Lion and Dove there for you all. But yeah, we're always willing to help and, get you guys to try out new products, because especially in 2020, you should at least be trying new fun things to do.
Yeah, especially in 2020, you should be drinking, right?
Yeah, you should. I mean, I didn't say it, but you should though. Probably a little.
Corporate doesn't own me. I can say it.
Yeah, I'm the boss. I'll say it. Yeah. So, I mean, all in all, the Carmenere, definitely one to show off with your friends. You're going to take it to a dinner party. They will not know what the Carmenere grape is. If they do, good for them, but you now have a great story to tell. So you can always Google the Carmenere grape, read more about that amazing story as well. There are fun videos about it. They go into more depth about even how they did the DNA testing when someone was like, this isn't really Merlot. And DNA testing with wine is one of those gems there. It just said that this is such an interesting wine, so much depth without being overwhelming and easy to drink. Some Carms are too funky, but this is awesome. I agree. So you will taste some Carmeneres, depending, that are made in different regions of the world that might not taste exactly like this. But definitely the Lion and Dove, very great, really easy to drink, very shareable. And like we mentioned with the food pairings earlier, Laura, it's a really versatile red as well. Yeah, so no matter what you have on your menu, I think that you can probably name off like 100 things right now that you could pair this with.
Yeah, I mean, we carry house wines, and our house wines are there to be universally appealing, but also to be able to have the ability to be paired with multiple dishes, because otherwise, you want to be able to sell wine by the glass, obviously, to be customer friendly and not have people feel they must order a bottle each time they come into a restaurant. But then you have to bear in mind the ability for the wine to match with, I'd say, a good 50% of your menu. That's not so easy. This wine for sure can do that. Absolutely can do that.
Yeah. And Joseph, I feel like you got the 4-pack from Accents Liquor this evening. Let us know what you think about the Carmenere. I always see some comments over here. He loved it. So thanks, Joseph.
I did see also somebody asked about the labels, and it's just something that I've also been meaning to ask you, because they are so pretty and so unique. And when you walk into a wall of wine, this label really does jump out at you. Is there like a special story behind this?
Yeah, so our owner of DMV Distributing, and we actually own the line of Lion and Dove in Frederick, Maryland. He wanted something that was a wine for everyone, which is why these wines are designed as to be a very well-balanced, easy to drink, and also acceptable of everyone. So everyone can drink these wines, whether you're looking for your kosher product, which you're looking for, your vegan or gluten-free, etc. The story behind the label, from what Alan told me, obviously the Lion and Dove, a little bit of a more religious sounding product, of course, but also something in terms of this is a really great kind of, two different things. So obviously your wine, your love, the strength of the lion, etc. So there's a lot of different things that you can think in terms of the Lion and Dove. But just being really well paired there and coming together to form such a great, unique.
That's very pretty.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really a time in our world where we really need the symbols of unity. So this, I think, really resonates for a lot of people right now who are just, feeling like it's a time for, especially after what we've endured the last 6 months, for people really to pull together. So it's beautiful.
I completely agree, Laura, and I'm glad you think so. The label was also designed a few years ago when they started the wine brand by a tattoo artist in Frederick, Maryland. So it was locally designed as well. So we kept it local and really for everyone to enjoy. And exactly. And I, even when you come up, obviously it's not one of those crazy wine labels, but it's just so classy. The wines themselves inside, great for everyone, and also just classy wines in general, something you can drink with everyone with.
Yeah, the stories are important. It's nice to have a story to connect to
absolutely, yeah.
Drinking, it's beautiful.
Exactly. All right, now our last wine of the evening. Laura, do you usually like sweet wines?
So I have to tell you that there are definitely days of the week where definitely this is a great go-to. So even though I really tend to more to the dry reds, there are definitely times where, where I'm drinking a lot of Moscato. So I do actually get into it. I think a lot of people do, especially because because we're sitting around the table for a long time on these holidays and sometimes on the Sabbath. Oftentimes these sweet wines, correct me if I'm wrong, lower alcohol content, so you can tolerate more over a longer period. And I think that's important, especially times of the holidays where we may be at a table for 4 hours. Well, this is going to be hard to sit and drink for 4 hours and still be able to, say your blessings and goodnight to your company or anybody for that matter. You may get through of an evening. So,
oh yeah,
so for sure, I'm definitely a big fan of Moscatos, and it's one of the things we sell the most of in our store. Are the Moscatos, and a variety of different brands. But I see they are definitely popular. Great for girls' nights out. Great for family events. Great for younger drinkers too.
I agree. Yeah, like you were talking about earlier, how your palate evolves from when you first start drinking wine, like in college. I remember, I feel like my first wine ever was probably, I actually think the first was a dry Merlot somewhere, but the rest was, your sweet reds or your sweet Moscatos or, whatever you could get your hands on in, your college days. Like, okay, let me try this. And then I was immediately the person at the parties that was like, where's the good stuff? Like, where's the good red? So my palate changed very quickly.
Fair, a little quicker than my kids.
Yeah.
My kids, we got them trained. Well, we like to train them how to drink as adults before they went off to college, because you do not want kids hitting a college campus who don't know what to do with alcohol. That would really not be fun and a good idea. So my kids got trained on these Moscatos. It's a great way of bringing it out at a family dinner, and pouring your kids as they come of age a glass of this and teaching them how to drink responsibly. It's definitely
I completely agree with you. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I went to Penn State, so trust me, I saw it all with people that did not learn that, guys.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, and I hear it all the time, and even the winery I used to work at and public tastings, that people feel inferior perhaps if they like and only like sweet wines. But in fact, the Moscato can be traced back to, ancient Egyptians and Persians. They were drinking Moscato. So absolutely, if you're a dry wine lover, even if you love dry, or if you're a sweet wine lover, don't feel bad. That's the wine you like. So you keep all of us having jobs, and we love you for it as well. This example of a Moscato, I will admit, and I am not a sweet wine lover, but this is a Moscato that I would grab any day of the week and enjoy a glass of. I think that it is a highly unique Moscato. So for those of you that are out there drinking this with us, I hope that there's some dry wine lovers that are also drinking this. It is one of the most high quality, fantastic Moscatos I've ever tried. I'm not just saying that because I sell it. Trust me, I wouldn't give it that much of a boast if I didn't think so. But it has a light effervescence. It's only 5.5% alcohol. So when you're drinking this with family after a meal, you're so full. Like, okay, I just, shared a couple of bottles of reds during dinner with my family or friends. I just want to, sit back, maybe undo the top button of my jeans, and have a nice glass of, just something light. But this is one of those Moscatos, I think, that obviously as soon as you pour it, Lara, you can see it's a little bit fizzy. Yeah. It's not necessarily bubbly. Yeah. Exactly. It's got some really nice, cute bubbles there that really bring a lot of character to this wine. And you'll be able to taste the quality of this Moscato compared to other Moscatos that are even the same price is outstanding. It's our only line in Dove product at the moment that is made in Italy. There are rumors. Wink, Alan, if you're viewing, we are in production of a rosé Moscato as well. So be on the lookout for that in the future, everyone.
That's going to be very popular. That's going to be very popular.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's good to hear. And I hear that it is absolutely amazing. My boss was on after a show a couple weeks ago, and I was like, what's in your hand there? And he was taste testing it, and he said it was amazing. And that's coming also from a dry red wine lover like myself. But the only line in Dove at the moment, made in Italy. Where it's located, it's a really nice warm climate as well. So the soil is super fertile. It's really easy to grow just about anything. But these Moscato grapes that grow there are absolutely amazing. And you can tell that even with the exotic fruits that you're tasting in this, and even the sage. I always love things that, just kind of have that light sage to them. And this wine really has it all. It's definitely a really great, more flavorful, I think, than other Moscatos. It's not as syrupy or heavy.
No, I was going to say the sweetness doesn't like clout you. A lot of Moscatos,
exactly.
It's like you're drinking sugar water, but not this one at all. It has a depth. There's this flavor running through it that reminds me of a grape in South Africa called the Hanefruit.
Oh, okay.
And there's something just flashed into my brain, Hanefruit, when I tasted this. I don't know why, but it did. It just took me back some 30 years. It's got a lovely flavor.
I always like those. Have you ever had a star fruit?
Yes.
Star fruits that are made in the star. That reminds me also of one of the exotic fruits that's in this wine. For those of you, I always love those fruits as well. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit more of a, I think the star fruit might be a little bit more tart than this Moscato is, but there's definitely, it's just always reminds me of that when I do taste this wine.
Yeah, this is a really nice Moscato.
Yeah, so if you're looking, especially like Lara mentioned earlier, girls' night, friends' night, even a dinner party with your friends, obviously the upcoming holidays, this is a kosher wine that is perfect for those. And it's something that you're going to want to keep going back and buying bottles and bottles. So make sure when you do visit Lara at Accents Liquor, pick up a couple of bottles so you don't have to drive back and forth as much, because you're definitely going to want way more than one bottle when you do introduce it to your friends. Anytime I have it, whether at a friend's house, it's I don't know, I feel like there's a hole in the bottom every time. It just kind of disappears.
Yeah, no, it's a good one, definitely a keeper. I'm going to be enjoying it. I'm going to wean my kids off the sweet bubbly stuff and say, okay, right, you want to up the ante on your palate? We're going to try a new thing.
Try this one.
My kids, I shouldn't say kids. People are going to think that I'm feeding my little ones wine, but my kids are 18 and older. In fact, my 18-year-old left the country a couple of days ago, and he's gone to spend a year in a country where the drinking age is 18, not 21 like in the States. So one of his friends' parents, there's a bunch of them that reached out to my husband a few weeks ago and said, we haven't really allowed our child to experience a lot of alcohol, and now he's going to a country where they legally can drink. We need to quickly teach him how to drink. So my husband put the box, and a Moscato, I think, was in the box, and said, here, you can train your son on these, and I'm for sure there was a Moscato in that box.
That's awesome. Like I said, a great idea as well. Now, we were talking about food pairings earlier.
Yeah.
You can also pair your Moscato with food. Some Moscatos I probably wouldn't, because they're it's too sugary. It's just too heavy. This Moscato, like we mentioned, is so light, bubbly. What have you got to pair it with? I'm excited to see this.
So we have got a delicious creme brulee. If you can all see that. And the interesting thing about this, it's very syrupy, so I'm scared to turn it exactly on its side. The interesting thing about this creme brulee we make at our steakhouse, Serengeti, the one thing I love about it, and you wouldn't believe it if you tasted it, it's actually dairy-free. So it's gluten-free and dairy-free, but very silky and creamy. And all our desserts, which are house-baked, would be phenomenal with this. I have to say that our fish dishes too, and some of our chickens would work really well with this Moscato. I'm not having a problem thinking of things to pair with this Moscato, just because it's not syrupy sweet, as you're saying, so it's going to complement way more than what you would expect a Moscato to complement.
Exactly. I mean, even if you want to pair it with your dessert, for example, you had your creme brulee there, which looked super amazing. I'm really jealous. Who are you letting eat all these fantastic dishes that the chefs are bringing out?
Oh, well,
is that your dinner and desserts later?
The kids are texting. Don't worry. Oh, mommy.
Yeah,
the kids are texting. I hope that's coming home with you. Don't worry about it.
Speaking of kids, we have a picture there of your family. So like you said, guys, you're supporting a local business, supporting, your local families there. Apparently they called dibs on all the food pairings. But yeah, I mean, this is one, Joseph, obviously he is local to you. He bought the pack that you guys were offering this week for the special tasting. Joseph, usually we do these tastings every Friday evening at 7 p.m. on DMV Distributing. So if you don't already like our page, give us a like on there and follow us as well. Hopefully we'll have Lara back soon also. It's always great to catch up with guests as well. But
we're going to be doing this as well. We encourage people to get on our Accents Liquor mailing list, because this is a thing that we would like to do, more of these food and wine pairings as the year continues, because people are still very trapped at home. It's a great way to get something delivered and really enjoy it and learn something about it, and maybe learn what to do with it in the case of food and wine and cooking. And so I encourage people to download the app and get onto our mailing list too, because that's how we keep in touch with you, and that's how you'll find out about upcoming events. And we would really looking forward to doing more with Line and Dove too, because you guys have been super professional and awesome to work with.
Oh yeah, anytime, Lara. I will always come and help you all out. We're a company here locally owned in Maryland. So any wines that we feature on DMV, Lion and Dove, you can find them throughout Maryland or DC. If those of you that have stores around you don't yet do, the virtual tastings with us, or don't even carry all the wines, etc., let them know to contact us. Obviously, Laura is on board, so we're so thankful for that, to bring you these different wines to try. I saw Joseph over there has quite a few people at his house enjoying them. So I hope you got a couple of the 4-packs, because your Moscato is going to disappear like this. You better pour yourself another glass quick. I know I've seen quite a few comments of people drinking it as well with us this evening. And like I said, this is a great wine even to drink as you're making dinner. It can be an aperitif, same as the Sauvignon Blanc earlier. All of these wines are great for so many different things. A really great price, your average price, $11.99 to $12.99 in your local stores. So you're not breaking the bank, but you're drinking really high quality, great, amazing wines. And also supporting your local liquor stores. Trust me, they have been through the mill this year, all of them, especially your restaurants. So go out and support them.
One for the history books, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully it will be the one for the history books, and then next year we'll be in public with you and drinking wine. Yeah. Well, Laura, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It was an absolute pleasure to get to know you and your family a little bit more.
Yeah, thank you.
About all of your businesses. Guys, we're going to post in our there we go. In our comments, Jess has already posted links to Accents Liquor's Facebook page, their Instagram. So please go over and follow them. I flipped through your Instagram. I absolutely love it. Some really great stuff on there. All of their restaurants, like Lara mentioned, they'll also ship it right to your house for you as well, if you're within that kind of 45-minute bubble around them. So take them up on that. If you don't have to drive around this craziness and tornadoes, you can.
Yeah,
You don't have wine delivered. With that said, be careful driving in tornadoes, but you know what I mean.
Well, after all of this, I got to be careful just driving home, and I literally live like 5 minutes away. I have to get one of the kids to pick me up.
Yeah, I'll see. Michaela, get on it. But thank you so much, Laura, for participating with us, joining us this evening.
Thanks. And I just want to thank everybody that came on and joined us tonight, because I know I'm sure there were some people who had some issues with the storm and maybe getting home in time and logging in and staying logged in. But it's always fun to do something as a community. And it's I'm sitting here and you're all sitting there, and Devan, you're sitting somewhere else, but we were able to create a little bit of shared community experience tonight, and I think that's beautiful.
Absolutely. Spending happy hour with great friends is the way to go, especially in 2020 here, and meeting new friends. Everyone that joined tonight, thank you so much. I see a couple tornado comments over there, but Laura, we really appreciate your participation tonight. Good luck with everything. You can find more information about Accents Liquor, obviously on their Facebook and Instagram. Follow DMV Distributing as well. We're going to be posting links also about how you can add yourself onto their email list, as well as the great app that they have too. So that's great on any phones as well. But yeah, let's continue to growing our Maryland and DC wine community here, because after all, even through next year and the end of times, There's nothing that'll make the day better but some friends and wine. So,
Oh yeah, we'll drink to that. As they say where we come from, l'chaim.
L'chaim.
Life, and it may be a good one for everybody going into the holiday season.
Completely. Now, I just want to remind you all, we'll be back to our normal date and time next Friday, September 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Yana is the owner of Igor Bodegas, is going to be joining me once again here on Virtual Vino with DMV. She will be unveiling the winner of the hashtag Akuma Color Challenge. We had some really great submissions for the Akuma Challenge this year. So, and all through August, there's some popping up on screen there. So that was such a fun coloring competition. But we will be unveiling the winner of the $250 certificate for their products on September 11th, as well as trying out another 4 amazing wines from DMV here. So if you have a favorite store that isn't participating next week, let them know to contact DMV Distributing, or any of the wines that we featured this evening. If they don't have them, let them know to contact DMV Distributing as well. But in the meantime, go support Accents Liquor and Lara over there, all of her family and friends and great employees. Shout out to Chef Tony. I can't wait to visit him eventually and taste some of his great food. I was really jealous the entire video of all the great meals that were coming out. So definitely will be visiting sometimes.
Thank you. We'd love to host you.
All right, guys. Well, in the meantime, all of you that joined us, thanks so much. There's our wines for next week, a really great 4-pack there for you. Ooh, yeah, and you don't want to miss out the winner of the Akuma Challenge. I am very interested. We had amazing submissions, so I'm sure that some really great labels going to win that one. All right. Well, we will see you next week, 7 p.m. right here on DMV Distributing. Cheers.